Hello, everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel, and also welcome to today's talk about buying your first real estate property with no money down and being able to start a real estate career as well as building wealth. Just a few things that I want to talk to you guys about. What's crucial to understand is when it comes to investing or getting into real estate, it's very important to know that not having the actual capital or the money that is required to buy your first property is not enough of a reason not to get to purchase your first real estate deal. So what I would like to do today, and again, if you guys have any questions, leave a message in the chat box or leave a comment on the YouTube live, and I will be glad to go ahead and respond to your questions. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's talk a little bit about real estate, how to get involved in real estate, and my understanding as to what the real estate market is going to take off on and how the real estate market would actually move forward starting in 2020. Now, folks, I do understand that right now, a lot of people are kind of worried with the rising prices of the housing market and how most houses are getting very difficult to purchase, meaning in order for you to be able to purchase your first property, it requires for you to have a lot of capital, or it requires for you to have, the right connections, or, find a good deal somewhere. So people are very nervous about what this is going to take. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and dispel some of those concerns, and then more than anything, teach you the tools and the techniques that you can use to get involved in purchasing your first real estate deal, and also looking at being able to build a good real estate empire over the next 5 to 10 years. So let's talk a little bit about what real estate investing is, and then we can go ahead and talk a little bit about the current market and see how you guys can leverage that resource to building your empire. So today I would like to share with you guys a few things when it comes to the real estate industry. Again, welcome to Real Estate Investing. My name is Casey Ajindu. This is my email below. For any of you who have questions that would like to reach out to me, I would like to go ahead and make sure that I make myself available to giving you all the tools and techniques to get in real estate investing. I was reading a book, The Millionaire Next Door, and one of the things that it mentions, it says that 95% of millionaires in today's market, this book, mind you, this book was written in 1990, and this still reads true in today, is 95% of people who are millionaires in today's market started by investing in real estate. So now it also does mention that out of that 95%, 85% of them don't live in the homes that they invest in, and 20%, only 20% of that amount of millionaires actually are invested in the stock market or see huge returns from the stock market. So folks, in order for you to be able to increase your net worth meaning the difference between how much you have you owe in liabilities, so it includes student loans, credit cards, any kind of debts, car loans, and things like that, from what your actual assets are. That is how you would be able to tell what you actually would be able to say is your net worth. So to have that net worth, the value, basically the value of your assets minus the value of versus how much your liabilities are, creates that net worth. To become a millionaire by your net worth, in order for you to get there, you would have to be able to invest in real estate. So what I would like to do is talk to you guys about that process and help you guys learn how you can start building generational wealth utilizing real estate as a technique or as a strategy to do that. So let's talk about real estate investing. What is real estate investing? Real estate investing is the ability to leverage real estate as an asset building technique that allows you to now start seeing returns on your capital and being able to start to see some capital come into your home in form of either income or also in form of appreciation as well. So again, real estate investing is you purchasing properties for the sole purpose of using them as investment vehicles. So those properties can be commercial properties, office buildings, retail spaces, shopping malls, or they could be multifamily where people would live in, or they can also be single family homes that you can rent out to families just again, the purpose being to help you to create a return in form of either income or in form of appreciation. So there are currently different types of real estate investing that is available right now. One of the available real estate investing will be wholesale, fix and flip, buy and hold, or REITs. Now, these are just a few that are being mentioned here. There's still a lot of other processes that you can invest in real estate, but these are the main ones that most people are aware of when they're looking to understanding what it takes to invest in real estate. So what I want to do is I want to talk to you guys today about the steps involved in becoming a real estate investor. Now, to be a real estate investor, there are a few things that you have to understand. Is you don't need to have a lot of capital available to yourself to actually become a real estate investor. That's the first thing. The second thing is you also don't need to have a stellar credit, meaning you don't need to have perfect credit to get involved in real estate investing. Now, when you're looking at purchasing properties that you'll be using for your own personal use, those have a little bit more of a different requirement, such as it requires that you do have to have good credit, and you also do have to have some kind of money available to yourself that you could use towards purchasing that property. Now, folks, there are ways around this. So again, today, part of the value I'll be providing to you is telling you those ways that you can now leverage your own personal property or property you'll be purchasing for personal use and utilizing that for investment purposes. So again, remember, in order to be a real estate investor, the steps required are just 1, dedication, 2, a will to win, 3, commitments to learning, and 4, understanding that education is the most vital part on becoming a real estate investor. Now, folks, what's also crucial here is you don't need any money, your own money, to get involved in real estate investing. Neither do you need any credits, meaning you don't have to have excellent credits to become a real estate investor. So over the last 3 years, there's been an evolution of real estate investing. Actually, I'll say over the last 4 years, from 2018, and that evolution involved, us understand that not only do you not have to invest in your local market, meaning you can branch out. You're not just stuck in investing in, say, for example, if you live in the state of Texas like I do, you're not just stuck in actually investing in Texas, but you can invest in the states that are in the Midwestern states. You can invest in the Mountain Western states. You can invest in the East Coast. Because of the technology and the increase in technology, it's opened up the ability for people to now invest outside of their local market. So some of those processes are called remote or virtual wholesaling. Another process is also called international wholesaling, where you get a chance to invest in properties or fix or flip deals outside of your actual country. So meaning if you live in, say you live in the United States like I do, you have the ability to flip deals anywhere around the world as long as you have the knowledge and the wherewithal as to how that process works. Now, again, folks, you can't escape understanding the basics. You can't miss the fundamentals. You have to do those pieces in order for you to put yourself in a position where you can now be able to leverage those resources and provide that to people that are willing and interested in your service. So again, when we talk about real estate investing, there are other things such as short-term rentals and room rentals. All of those things you can do them in your local market, or you can do those in your actual, you can do those outside of your actual market. So remember, folks, the world has changed and it's allowed people to now get open to being able to do deals anywhere around the world without any concerns, without any issues. Now, how to become a real estate investor with no money, no credit, and no license? That's what I'd like to talk to you guys about today, because I think it's crucial for you guys to understand that you can get involved in real estate investing and you don't need to have any money of your own. You don't need to have any credit, or you don't need to have any actual real estate license to get started in real estate investing. So the first step that I always recommend everybody look into is understanding that you would need to find a way to build capital. So how I explain this is this, and forgive me, I have some allergies today. So how I explain this is this, right? When somebody gets involved, or somebody wants to get started in real estate investing, they always ask themselves, if I don't need any money and I want to buy $1 million property, How can I do that? Nobody's going to give me a property for $1 million if I don't have the ability to even give them something. So this is how I look at it. I look at it as if you were a person who was going to start a farm for the first time. You wouldn't go in and just pour seeds in the ground and hope that eventually you will see something sprout. You would want to learn and say, okay, how can I put the first seed? What's the process of planting the seed? And what's the process of allowing the seed now germinate and giving me fruit? That's what real estate investing is, and that's what the fundamentals and the basics of real estate is, which is wholesaling real estate. So today I want to talk to you guys about wholesaling real estate and what that is. Now, wholesaling real estate is the process of connecting a distressed seller to an investor for an assignment fee. Now, I'll repeat that again. Wholesaling real estate is the process of connecting a distressed seller to an investor for an assignment fee. The goal of wholesaling real estate is to allow you to get started as just simply a middleman who now provides both parties what they need, and you get paid a fee for being able to do that. That process requires no capital. That process also requires no credit, as well as if done right, it can be closed very quickly. Now, folks, understand this. With wholesaling real estate, you don't need a real estate license. And the question people always have is, how can I get involved? How can I sell real estate if I don't have a license? Folks, you are not selling real estate in this point. You are creating something and using something called leverage to put yourself in a position where now you can now connect that distressed seller to an investor for an assignment fee. Now, understand this. A distressed seller can put their property in the market. They can do all kinds of things, but because the investor is not looking for that specific property, or the investor is probably looking at other deals, most investors don't have the time to source the market to try to find deals. So you provide value by helping them shrink that market size that they have to look at, and then allowing them to see it from a much smaller view, and now being able to understand that they can now leverage that to build themselves their portfolio as well. Look at it from this perspective. If an investor gets 500 deals shown to them a day, chances are that they would have no interest in purchasing all 500 properties unless they're a very big investor and they purchase 500 homes a day. Most investors, what they would want is they want to see the best deals that can give them the best returns on their money. That's where you come in. That's where your relationship and the leverage that you provide to the investor comes in, because now you can now allow that investor to shrink from that 500 properties they have to look in a day to only 4 to 5 properties that they can now look at and say, okay, I'm willing to make a decision to close on this deal because this deal gives me the things that I'm looking for. So again, folks, because you're doing this for the investor, you don't require any real estate license. You can actually use leverage to allow yourself to get paid in deals like this. So now, folks, remember, most real estate investors, the ones that you are now selling these deals to, all start by wholesaling as a means to generate enough capital in order to make bigger investments. So what I want to do is I want to talk to you guys about my personal experience with wholesaling real estate. And as we take a look at that, I want to also explain to you guys how you guys can also take on that same attitude and use that to build yourself a pretty good portfolio as well. So these are some of the deals that I've worked on. This being the Copacabana Jaco in Costa Rica, the Dundee Bay Villas in Freeport, Bahamas. I also closed 13 deals in San Antonio while living in Dallas, Texas, which is about 5 hours away from Dallas. I closed a deal in Hammond, Indiana. I closed a deal in Lufkin, Texas. And I've also closed 3 deals in the Dallas market as well. So what I'm saying is you cannot be limited to the location that you'll be looking at investing in, as long as you understand the basics and the fundamentals of wholesaling real estate, and you utilize that to your advantage to, of course, build yourself a good wealth of passive income. So guys, let's talk about a few things here, and which is you have to understand how to get involved, how to get started, and those things take some type of a process. First is, how do you determine if the seller is the right seller for you? A few things that I've mentioned here is, one, you have to see what the seller's motivation is. If the seller is motivated to sell, they would inform you about that. And how they inform you is by the process that they market their property or not market their property to give you an understanding that this is a deal that they're interested in. Let me help you. Let me have you guys understand, kind of give you guys a story as to what I mean by that. So I had a person in the San Antonio market. They were moving, they received PCS orders. They were soldiers. Well, the husband was a soldier, and the wife and the husband received PCS orders that he had to move to Virginia. So what happened was they didn't know how to get the house sold, because when you have a VA loan, most times you have to have that VA loan cleared in order for you to use that VA loan to buy a new property. So in order for them to be able to do that, they had to sell their house and sell it quickly. The problem is, if they put that house in the market, chances are that the house, if it went through a traditional lender, the house would probably be on the market for at least, even if with today's market, with how things are going, 3 to 4 days after, they get put on the market, the lender is not going to be able to close in 3 to 4 days. That lender is going to require at least 21 to 28 days from the date of contract to closing. The beauty about you as an investor is you don't abide by those rules, because you're not worried about an inspection. You're not worried about the fact that you might need to have, an appraisal done. You're not worried about all the things that the lender would require, so you can close quickly and allow the seller to meet this PCS requirement. So which is what we did, was we allowed the seller to be able to now meet investors through our network that now gave them the chance to now close on these deals quickly. When they did close on these deals quickly, then what they also now were able to do was to move, get their VA loan was paid, and they were able to utilize the VA loan to buy a new property. So that's a pretty big motivation for most sellers. It's a good way for you to get involved in real estate. If you wanted to make your niche, the military folks, military personnel, that would be a good niche. Now, the only thing you have to understand is you probably would not have as many deals, because you have to be counting on the PCS orders, unless maybe you have a different way to make that a nationwide strategy. The second thing will be a time to close process. Now, in the case of the last person I mentioned to you that we helped, they had a short time to close process. So they needed to close on this property very quickly. That again becomes a huge motivation for them to be able to sell it to an investor versus selling it to an actual regular person. Or traditional lender, if you will, because we are all regular people. But what I meant is, like, in order for them to sell it to a traditional versus using a traditional lender, they needed to close quickly. They weren't willing to wait the 21 to 28 days that it would require a traditional lender to close. So the investor now able to close in 3 to 7 days, give them a lot more confidence to say, hey, we can close on this, we can move, plan our move, and we can be out of the property in no time. The last thing will be the price. So in a case like this, they understood that it comes with a cost. The desire to sell the property quickly as is, without having to worry about the repairs or any minor issues that the inspection might catch, comes at a price. Because in today's world now, you have different loan options like FHA. The FHA loan that also gives you a chance to use that to fix a property before you actually close. Those options are there, but what happens with those options is those options now go into the time to close. So when it goes into a situation like that, what that ends up happening is now you have a price issue, because all this now falls in line, and it does not help you to achieve your goal. So folks, again, you have to understand that knowing who the right seller is allows you to make sure that you are selling the property to the right. You're buying the property from the right seller, and you are now helping your investor realize good gains and good returns. And when you do that, the investor is going to be so happy to come back to you. That's how it always works. If an investor sees, hey, you know what, I'm dealing with KC, and every time KC brings me a deal, I'm seeing about a $30,000 to $40,000 return after my repairs, I'm only going to want to get deals from KC, because KC knows how to find these deals. Now, if you're a person who, your margins are so slim and you're really basically fleecing your investors on their first or second buy from you, they're not going to come back. You have to think about this as a long-term strategy, as a way to be able to have repeat business, because your best customers in this case are return investors. So again, let's talk about how you can find the right deals to put yourself in a position where you are now realizing this proper returns on your investment. The first thing when it comes to finding deals, finding leads, which will be the right deals, is capitalizing on something which I call the low-hanging fruit. Low-hanging fruit will be for sale by owner deals. These are already sellers that are willing to sell. They've put their house on the market. And what I do have is I have a real estate course that I'm actually offering at the end of this webinar that allows you to be able to understand the strategy involved in knowing what that target market, because now if somebody posts their house on the market today and you reach out to them with a discounted offer, if you will, you're probably going to go to something you don't want to hear, because that person has delusions of grandeur. So what I was able to do is, based on my strategy and how I was able to close these deals, I was able to find the right there, called the sweet spot, that allows me to know this is a seller that will sell it even though they're for sale by owner seller. The next will be the use of a bird dog. So this is a great tool and great strategy to use, where you're allowing people to also make money, and you're incentivizing them, saying, hey, I'm going to give you something to help me find the right deals. Part of my course also discusses that strategy and what those numbers look like. Next will be riding the block. This is very easy. You don't require anybody to do this. You can just drive around your local market and you can see properties that look like they're distressed and proceed to discuss with the sellers as well. There are tools and softwares that I mentioned in my course that you can use those tools and softwares to make riding the block a lot more productive use of your time as well. Next is social media ads. This involves capital investment. With the social media ads, I've been very, very fortunate enough to have a strategy with a partner on how you can accurately set up your social media ads, where now people reach out to you directly because they have an interest in selling their home, and you don't have to go out there and constantly put ads to see if you can get more and more sellers or leads. Another one will be realtors, brokers, and other wholesalers. This one is also a very good one you can use by understanding how to leverage these relationships that you build. I discussed this in my course as well. It allows you also to have the ability to now discuss with these folks and allow yourself to be able to find deals and find the right deals that you can close. Another will be pre-foreclosure and tax liens. Now, with the pre-foreclosure and tax liens, why this is crucial is because when you do pre-foreclosure and tax liens, these sellers are pretty desperate. So that allows you, again, the ability to go in there, leverage those relationships, and bring your investors that you can use to allow these deals to close in a quicker fashion. Another one will be bank REOs and short sale. With the bank REO and short sale, you can always leverage this. These I don't always recommend, but these also do work for people who are understanding of the way the market is and how to utilize this to be able to generate themselves more income. Now, these are just a few ways of finding leads. My course definitely goes into more detail as to what other processes you can use, and it could be something you could definitely leverage. Another thing that I want to talk to you guys about today will be the typical deal types. With deal types, I always say this: no matter what type of deal you're working with, if it's an overseas or international deal, if it's a deal that is actually local, which is within your local market, within a few mile radius from your home, you always want to avoid a deal where you can't get an accurate title search. That is so crucial, so crucial, so crucial. I said that 3 times because I hope that registers with you guys. It's extremely crucial that you avoid deals where you can't get an accurate title search. Now, folks, another one is the type of deals that are available that you can leverage will be single family, multifamily, commercial real estate, which includes retail offices, hospitality, and medical centers. I have a recommendation. When you decide you want to get into wholesaling, find a niche, learn the niche. And again, my course to know the basics of it, so when you do learn the niche, you can leverage that resource and use that as a way to now be able to close more and more deals. Now, folks, it's crucial that when you're talking with a seller, you know how to create interest. Part of the process of creating interest will be your value proposition. So how do you position yourself? How do you put yourself out there to allow the person that you or will be dealing with, as far as with the seller, to see the value in what you bring and why they should work with you versus another wholesaler? Folks, I have to be honest, in all disclosure, the wholesale industry is pretty saturated in most markets, especially in the bigger metroplex areas. So you would have quite a bit of competition when you get started in this business. What's going to allow you to stand out is your ability to find out your target niche, and more than anything, to also know how to present your value proposition as to why you are the right person that the seller should deal with, and the investor should deal with in the long run. Next is people buy or sell to whom they like, trust, and connect with. So part of your value proposition, folks, is to understand that, hey, how can I put myself here so where people will be willing to buy or buy from me, which is your investor, or sell to you, which would be your seller, because of what? One, is always good if they like you. It's always good if they trust you. It's also good if they connect with you. And if they see your value proposition and are able to align their values with yours, it gives you a better chance at closing. Lastly, is being able to appeal and have an emotional closing. Now, I always say this, and this is also important with all the videos that I've put out here in regards to real estate investing. I always say this. It's extremely important to understand that everybody's house to them is the most emotional purchase that they ever make. The reason is they have their love in the house. In case of where there's a family that was raised in the house, their memories created in the house. People just don't readily part away with their homes because of the amount of emotional ties that home has to them. So if you can't provide that, you can't have them understand that there is something that you will bring into the table outside of just the fact that, you have some cash and you want to buy the house. Folks, you will be going through it and you will not close any deals, and you'll be wondering why other people are closing deals and you're closing zero. So you have to, if you could empathize with people, it becomes a much easier sales process for you and a much less mundane process that you have to deal with. And you don't treat this like a job, but you treat this like a passion. So again, remember the ability to feel something. That's what the emotions are, right? Something you feel from the inside. When you can feel this thing and you're able to channel that love out there to people, they can now connect with you on an emotional level. And when they're able to connect with you, that allows them now the ability to now say, hey, here's our property. We're willing to sell to you. We're willing to do business with you. So folks, these are things that are very crucial. You have to know these things when you get involved in real estate investing. So my course does kind of also help you understand the basics. Part of the basics that we talk about in the course is how to determine your offer price. I think that's very important because, again, if you know what your entry price is, your exit price will be your sales price. You would know how to price it where your investor would come back. Again, folks, remember, it's not about closing the first deal. My goal will be to help you close your first deal. When you take my course, I'm offering a free one-on-one session. I'm also offering the ability to I will try to handhold you. And I'm not going to say we just go over every single property every single day. No, but I'm going to offer you my time and my resource to allow you to close your first deal. And that will be in being able to connect with you through Zoom. And if we connect through Zoom, we understand the process. We go through your contracts. I'll help you to close your first deal. And in order for you to do that, you have to remember the things that you would learn from this is how your offer price relates to your sales price. Because again, this is a relationship business. You want the investor to always come back. Now, another thing too, that in the math process that I teach in my course are the factors to consider when making an offer. So what are you going to have to think about and say, these are things that I need to know. So when I get involved, when I'm ready to make my offer, I'm not going to put myself in a bad position. Repairs are part of the explanation. I do provide you with some repair estimate sheets to allow you to know how to discuss with your seller and close your deals. Closing costs, commissions, and taxes. Those are things to also consider. And again, I put these things all in a pretty nice bundle to say, this is what I want you to be able to go out there to do so you can close your first deal. And once you close your first deal, you are ready to go and you're going on a rocket ship. Okay, so guys, I'm very, very important. I feel very, very strongly about how I can help you close your first deal. In order for me to do that, I would need your help as well. So closing your first deal is important. It gives you the momentum, the excitement, and it makes you want to keep going. Now, in order for you to know that, some of the things that we have to know is you have to start now on setting up a buyer's list before having your first contract. There is good news on the way, because what happens to most investors or wholesalers is when they get their first deal, they say, how am I going to get started? Who am I going to sell this property to? So the good news is, by being a part of my course, I'm offering a free VIP program. And part of my VIP program is giving you an access to my buyer's list. In my buyer's list, the properties don't stay on the market for less than 7 days. So meaning when you put it out there, my buyer is purchasing it in less than 7 days. So I'm going to give you access to my buyer's list and say, here's a way you can close more deals. That's part of the program. That's part of what I'm offering you alongside my one-on-one coaching as well. So the next thing is your strategies to close your first deal. There are multiple strategies, right? So you have the subject to strategy, you have a joint venture strategy, a cash offer strategy, assignment contract strategies. So there's so many ways you can close your first deal. And my goal will be to help you through each of these process and explain to you how you can leverage this process to get your first deal closed. Next is how to put together your contract for both the buyer and the assignment process. So those things are also crucial to know, because again, you want to make sure that when you're putting your contracts together, you have to think about risk management. That piece of paper, it might be 2 pages long. If you're using my contracts, it's only 2 pages long, but that 2 pages can cost you thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars. The reason why I'm saying that is I've been in that position, right? So I've had situations where I've lost quite a bit of money. If you've checked out my other videos, you see where I talked about a probate deal where I lost $60,000, and then I had to pay an attorney to help me get out of that deal. So it cost me well over $65,000 just so I can give somebody back their house, right? So again, I had situations where I put some money down, a big project cost me 140 something thousand. Another situation where I put $125,000 down, it cost me a lot. So I've had a lot of situations where I've made bad deals simply from just not understanding how to put my contract together to protect myself. Your risk management in this business is what can sink you or what can cause you to go to higher heights. And that's what I would like to be able to offer you today as well. So again, there are things you have to be able to consider in your typical wholesale and assignment contracts. Those are part of the things that my course goes over. I go over a detailed line-by-line item. Again, the course is a 15-chapter course. It breaks everything down in small, minute details. So I go over these line items to allow you to see why you have to be careful. So when you go out there, that the 2 pieces of paper does not bankrupt you and cause you and your family to go into bankruptcy. So part of that, again, like I said, is understanding the mistakes to avoid when dealing with investors, as well as other wholesalers or even with sellers. Folks, I can't stress this enough. I know it's for the last 3 times I've mentioned this. It's because I know how hard it was for me. Every time I lost big amounts of money, it caused a lot of strain in my house. It caused a lot of strain in myself. And more than anything, it put a lot of strain in my health. So I don't want you guys to experience this. I wish there's a way I can go into your heads and say, please, please, please avoid this as much as you can. But no matter how hard I scream, people are still going to go ahead and go on their path. So I just hope you would refuse to be one of those people, and you would say, what do I need to do to learn so I don't put myself in this position? And again, that's what my course is going to help you guys understand, is that risk management side of things. Because if you don't know how to mitigate risk in anything that you do in life, I mean, we could talk about in marriage, we could talk about in health and fitness, with anything it is that you do. If you don't know how to mitigate risk and manage the risk, you will find yourself in a very bad position very quickly. I would hate that for you. I would hope that that's not what happens. I would hope that a lot of us are willing to listen. I will hope that, you guys will say, hey, this is something that I'm willing to do and to put myself in a position to be able to grow from. And as long as those are the things that you guys do, you will see yourself in a position of nothing but growth. So right now, I want to take any questions that you guys might have. Again, I want to go ahead and address your questions or concerns. I'm going to look in the chat box and I'm going to see what you guys have for questions. Okay, let me go to the other screen. Oh, sorry, 1 second. Okay, so we have a question. All right, so the question here says, how can we buy our first home if the goal is if we've never owned a home and we want to buy a home and live in the property, and we also want to rent out a portion of the house? Got it. Okay, that's a great question. Thank you. So, Tim, thank you for that question. What I want to say is this: when it comes to buying your first home and you want to live in the property and you also want to rent out some of the rooms in the property. I know I mentioned that at the beginning of the call and I said I was going to discuss that. So let me go ahead and break that down for you guys. Part of this call I wanted to do is to give you guys value, help you guys understand how you guys can grow a real estate business, a real estate empire without having to put yourself in a bad position, and also minimize your expense, right? Because again, in order for you to grow wealth, your wealth is always based on your assets minus your liabilities to show your net worth. So to be able to get that, you have to minimize your expense. So what I've done and what I've seen some people do, I actually know a few people that have done this in the past, is they use a down payment assistance program. Now, what this down payment assistance program is where the state, and this is for most states in the United States. Now, if you live outside of the US, I know Canada does this. I know some other countries do this as well. I don't know if your country does this, but this is something you can always reach out to an attorney to see if it's available to you. Now, what they do here is we offer a down payment assistance program. You can use the down payment assistance program, use that to actually purchase your first home. Now, this is very important here. When you go in, you work with your realtor, talk to your realtor and let them know that you are buying your home. It's you're a first time home buyer. You've never owned a home before. You're going to be using the down payment assistance program to put down towards the house. Most times they give you between 3.5% to 5% of the value of the house to put down towards the property. Now, when you do that, you buy the property, you can have your realtor negotiate for the seller to help you pay some of the closing costs. By using those two processes, you now have the ability to take a much, much less amount of money out of your pocket to put down towards this house. Now, again, remember, because you're going to live in a house, there will be some kind of investment from your side. That investment might be money for the appraisal. That investment might be some money for closing costs. That investment might be money for, any future repairs or whatever it is, but there has to be an investment from you. And once you invest and you put that money into the property, the second thing that now happens is when you buy the property, you can stay in the master bedroom, and you can rent out the rest of the house to potential tenants. As long as you're a person, if you're married and your wife and your kids are okay with that, great. If you're single, it even works better because you don't need anyone's permission. You can rent out portions of your house and get that money to allow you to pay for your mortgage. So I have a friend. I have a friend who lives in Austin, Texas. He's been able to buy 4 houses like this, right? Now, the thing is, after your first 4 years, you're allowed to get a new down payment. After your first 3 years, you're allowed to use the down payment assistance. In Texas, it allows you to do it every 3 years. You can use the down payment assistance as long as you're buying for your primary residence. So what he does is he stays in the property for about 3 years. When he refinances the property, he rents the rest of the house out. So by renting the house out, it's now a rental property. He no longer lives there. And then he uses the down payment assistance to purchase the next house where he's going to live. And he lives there for 3 to 5 years. And then, of course, he rents the room out. The rooms, the money he's getting from the rooms, he's being able to what he uses to pay his mortgage. So he's practically living rent free. He's getting income from the one property. He's also getting a little bit extra from the folks who are renting his room. So he's getting another income to support the income he's getting from his job. He does this and he's been able to purchase 4 homes over the last, I believe, 12 to 13 years. And he's had now 4 properties that he owns that one, he's living in one, and the other 3 are all rented out. So the more you do this, the more you start to build equity in each property. Because remember, as people are paying the mortgage on the house, the property values are going up, your mortgage is going down. You have the difference between, which is your equity. So if you have enough equity, you can pull out equity from 3 or 4 of those properties altogether when you refinance. Instead of just doing a straight refi, you can do a cash out refi, pull out the equities on these properties, and eventually use that equity to buy a house free and clear. So you can scale up very quickly, is what I'm saying. The goal is just to buy your first deal. And what I'm going to suggest you do is, if this is something you want to do, feel free to reach out to me. I'll go ahead and tell you about what process. I have people that I can refer you to. It's not my niche, but I do know people that do this. I can refer you to them and have you leverage the relationship that I have to allow you to purchase your first deal in form of either a realtor or a mortgage loan officer that can help you with these programs. So again, it's all hope is not lost. Simply because you are getting involved and you're purchasing your first property does not mean that you're in a position where you can't leverage that and use that to actually buy yourself more and more real estate. So again, folks, I'm so appreciative of the time that we spent today. I want to make sure that, again, you guys get true value from this. If you have any questions, the description to my course is the link to my course is in the description below. Please feel free to click on it. If you have questions, you want to go ahead and learn more about who I am, you want to find out more about my website, you can also click on my website link below as well to do your due diligence, of course, because I expect you to. You guys are smart investors, right? And then click on my course. It's available on Thinkific. You can click on my course, purchase my course. Let's get you guys understanding the basics and the fundamentals. Once you understand those key things, the next thing we can do is we can now help you close your first deal so you can be well on your way to becoming that multimillionaire that everybody and myself knows that you can be. So again, thank you guys for the time. I'm so appreciative to spend this time with you. I'm looking forward to learning more and going ahead and growing with you guys. Take care. Peace.